What up, YouTube? It's Eternity with God again. I want to tell you guys about a crazy dream I had earlier on today, and it wasn't about the tribulation itself, the real one that will happen, but it was definitely like a sign from God Himself that says that the rapture is definitely imminent. So it's definitely, we're on the verge. Jesus is already here. He is already here. Jesus is closer than the clouds are closer to the pavement. So that being said, you know how close, if you look up and see how close the clouds are to the ground, that's like fog, right? You know, fog just like floating in the sky. Just like fog, like hovering like only 30 feet off the ground. Jesus is a lot closer to the pavement than the fog itself. Jesus is like one second, I'll show you a demonstration. See that little step right there? Jesus is even closer. Jesus is closer than that tiny little stub. Right there. He's closer than that stub right there. So, it's absolutely close. He's so close, he's so close to us that the Bible mentions that actually he's closer than your next breath. So he's a lot closer than that. He's infinitely closer than our next breath. One. I just said one. And when I first said one, he's closer than that. It's so amazing that how close he is and how soon the rapture is going to happen. I pray, brothers and sisters, that you in Christ show each other and praise and follow Jesus Christ's steps, his footsteps, and for you guys to share these videos of mine, including this one, with your friends who are unsaved, with your family who are unsaved, that's never done Romans 10:9. If we confess with our mouth that Jesus Christ is Lord and believe it in our heart that God rose him from the dead, we shall be saved. If they've never done that and received the gift of salvation, then they are screwed if they die. So, or if the rapture happens, they'll be left behind. So, it's vital, completely vital, people. Now for the dream I had earlier on. I can't really remember it, but I can remember. All right. There was like 15 to 2,000 people, 1,500 to 2,000 people on this end, with swords and shotguns and bazookas and machine guns and assault rifles and pistols and everything, like rocket launchers. And like vehicles like tanks and stuff that had turrets on them. And then on this side was like 2 or 3 or 5,000 people. They're demons that had their own weapons that they made in hell. So, and they're like that. And then they started coming towards each other, like running towards each other, and then like you know, like they were fighting. They're fighting, they're sword slashing and everything like that. So, a lot died. The soldiers that were alive and human are the ones who got left behind during the rapture. And the demons, I heard World War III is actually going to be not humans versus terrorists, but humans versus demons. So demons were on this end, military was on this end, our demons were on this end, and they clashed and they fought and it was a death match. And then out of this, I'm trying to remember in my mind. Alright, so out of this like very back area or whatever in the distance came this giant beast. This giant beast. It wasn't Satan himself, but this beast was like absolutely huge. He was like 700 feet tall, and I can't really remember what he looked like, what his face looked like, but it was definitely not human. It's like definitely like demonic. I know that for like a monster, but and this guy was controlling it. This dude was actually like controlling this gigantic monster, like some demon was on the inside piloting it. So he's piloting it, and he was destroying everything. He was destroying stuff with, I can't remember, but he was like shooting stuff or something at people. But so yeah, and then the people way in the distance, the demons way in the distance had like giant catapults, those things you put giant boulders in and like fling them at like castles and stuff. So that being said, right there, yeah, there's that. And that was the tribulation. The rapture had already happened, but people got left. Everybody that was there got left behind, except for the demons. All the human soldiers were actually the ones that left behind in the rapture, and they were fighting. They didn't know what was going on. They didn't know what was going on. The soldiers actually thought that they were fighting against aliens, right? They didn't even know that they were demons, because they weren't like Christianity and spirituality and stuff. They didn't know about demons and stuff like that. Well, some of them probably knew that they were alien or demons, but a lot of them actually thought that they were actually human versus aliens rather than demons, because they were demons. And so that being said, right there, that was a sign. It was obviously not the real tribulation of how it's going to be. No, because there's not going to be an army on one side and an army of demons on the other. So it's not the real tribulation that I saw, but it was like a sign from God that the tribulation really is imminent, because the rapture is imminent itself. So that being said, after the rapture, whoever's left behind has to suffer the consequences of being left behind during the tribulation. So the tribulation is the aftermath of the rapture, because people who are saved and the rapture happens, they could be there's going to be pilots piloting airplanes in like 50, 100,000 feet in the sky. And what do you think would happen when the pilots get raptured, right? They're raptured. Their body isn't even there anymore. It's just a pile of clothes. So nobody's going to be flying the plane with like 700 passengers in it. And I'm sure a lot of the passengers are saved as well. But all the other 700 passengers probably will die, and then the plane isn't only going to kill them, but when it crashes it could crash on a lot of people, into people's homes and stuff. Like giant propellers could fly off the airplane and just get flown into people's houses, and people get chopped up by the propellers and stuff like that. But I really, and like train conductors, right? The conductors of the train pilots, a lot of them are going to get raptured as well. And then the train with passengers that aren't saved and unsaved, the saved will get raptured too, but the unsaved passenger will have to deal with the crash and the death. And the trains will end up ultimately crashing against like cars and stuff like that, and derail and crash in like houses or something like that. I mean, it's absolutely it's like heartbreaking, like completely heartbreaking. And I sincerely hope that none of you get left behind in the rapture and I have to suffer the tribulation. The people actually, I actually asked the demon in the tribulation dream, and who are you working for? And he said Satan. Satan was behind the tribulation. He was in charge of all the attacks, missiles and everything. Like, seriously, I know it wasn't really the tribulation, just like hell. My hell dreams aren't really literal hell, just similar to something like that topic of hell, you know, but it's not really the tribulation, you know, but it's just, it was scary, you know, it was scary. I was doing everything to survive. I wasn't fighting. I was running away like a coward. I was hiding behind everything, and I was just running away like a coward, you know, because I didn't want to die. If I died, I'd probably end up going to hell, because if you got left behind in the rapture and you're in the rapture, it's too late for you to get raptured and go to heaven. Only the saved go to heaven. So that would ultimately mean that I was going to be that I would be unsaved. Freaking stuttering today. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video. I hope you guys share it with your friends and family, and I'll let you go. Peace out.